Michael Domingues was 16 years old when he committed the double unaliving of 24-year-old Arjun Pekpo and her 4-year-old son, Jonathan Smith, in Nevada. Legislation handed down from the U.S. Supreme Court would result in Domingues going from awaiting the death penalty to now, if all goes well, being released on parole this day, February 13, 2026. Hi, I'm Nikki Lynn, and welcome to Nikki Lynn Investigates, where I break down true crime cases, past and present, provide you with updates on cases that shook our communities to its core. Follow along as we delve into current events, breaking news, and criminal trials with facts, context, and clarity, all while applying legal principles. Are you ready to take a closer look?
This video may contain copyrighted material. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976 allows for fair uses for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. This video is intended for educational, entertainment, and commentary purposes. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute.
At age 16, Michael Domingues unalived Arjun Pekpo by strangulation and then placed her body in a bathtub. He then fatally jabbed her 4-year-old son because he believed the young boy would be able to identify him. Initially, he tried to electrocute the 4-year-old by placing him in the same bathtub of water with his mother and a hairdryer, but that proved unsuccessful. It appears part of Domingues' motive was robbery, as some of Pekpo's personal items were recovered from his girlfriend's home. Per the court proceedings, Domingues would not admit guilt in the unalivings. Arjun Pekpo was just 24 at the time her life was taken. She worked in the reservations department of Circus Circus. She also attended night school and hoped to become a court recorder. According to her mom, she was a planner, a straight-A student, and a devoted employee who never missed work. She had already purchased her own home without asking her mother for any financial assistance. But she also was a mother to 4-year-old Jonathan Smith. Young Jonathan had just begun school when Domingues took his life. He was a happy, bright little boy, his father, Michael Smith, said. I had just begun to teach him his ABCs. He wanted to be a police officer or a pilot when he grew up. Pekpo and Smith were not together when she died, but she had a heart of gold, and she had the most beautiful smile ever, he said. Michael Smith also said he thinks about his son almost every day. Pekpo and her son lived next door to Domingues' girlfriend and her father in Sunrise Manor. Domingues was 17 in 1994 when he was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree robbery with the use of a deadly weapon, and burglary. He was given the death penalty, in which his case gained widespread attention due to his age at the time of his crimes. Although Domingues would appeal his decision, his conviction and the death penalty would be upheld. That is until 2005, when the U.S. Supreme Court eliminated the death penalty for defendants under the age of 18. Because of that decision, Nevada legislation then resulted in Domingues' sentence being commuted to life without parole. So Domingues went from being convicted for 2 counts of and sentenced to the death penalty to now life without parole. However, because there wasn't a hearing held to consider Domingues' age before the life without parole was imposed, which was a requirement that was overlooked at that time, a new penalty hearing was held for Domingues in 2019. So in 2020, after a new hearing, he was resentenced to 30 years to life with credit for the time he had already served, which was about 24 years at that time. Last November, Domingues was granted parole by the Nevada Board of Parole Commission. So at the age of 49, Domingues is eligible for release February 13, 2026, given his housing arrangements are approved. Domingues has spent his entire adult life in prison. At his November 17th parole hearing, Domingues stated, "I don't know how to ask for my freedom because what happened was really horrible. The person that did those things does not exist anymore. If I could, I would go back. If I was God, I would bring them back." Domingues declined to answer when asked if he still maintains his innocence, which was his initial plea 30 years ago. He fears his answer will hinder his release. He did state, however, "I'm going home because they've seen a change in me." He will remain at High Desert State Prison until he is cleared for release. It should be noted, only 6 out of 7 parole board members agreed to grant his parole. Arjun Pekpo's mom, Tywin Eshelman, and her husband, Vernon Eshelman, expressed outrage that she had to learn from a reporter that Domingues was being released. They are distressed over the fact that they didn't get the opportunity to speak to the parole board and express their true feelings. She's frightened, she said, by the decision to release him. And although her husband, Vernon Eshelman, admits they didn't complete a victim notification form, Tywin Eshelman states she's lived in the same house since 1970 and never changed her number. She believed they could have found a way to contact her if they really wanted to. Michael Smith, the father of young Jonathan Smith, states he wasn't contacted by the parole board either to make his feelings known. And although it's been over 30 years, Eshelman states she misses her daughter and grandson dearly. Maupin, the original sentencing judge who gave Domingues the death penalty and is now a retired Nevada Supreme Court justice, had this to say. "It seemed like it merited the death penalty to him at the time of trial, but I no longer think that," he said. He had a very challenging upbringing, and he was very immature, and as a result, he was very difficult to defend, said Maupin. "A lot of these things have to do with what we call intangible factors affecting a verdict, and he had all of that going against him, and the jury was pretty hot about the offense. The death penalty is expensive to litigate and does not result in defendants actually being executed. Sentencing someone that young to death erodes the moral fiber of a country that is head of the industrialized world." However, former Clark County District Attorney David Rogers said this: "There are some crimes that are so heinous and the defendant so bad that those individuals should never breathe the same air as law-abiding citizens, and Michael Domingues is one of them. His actions were so awful that he should spend the rest of his life in prison." As Michael Domingues, age 49, prepares himself to leave High Desert State Prison today and start over, Arjun and her son Jonathan, respectively, would have been 57 and 36, won't get to experience new beginnings. So what do you think is fair, all factors considered, for the victim, the family, the community, for someone who once faced the death penalty to have their sentence commuted? Should it have been life without the possibility of parole, or is life with parole fair? You decide. This has been another episode of Nikki Lynn Investigates. Please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe.